Okay, I just want to go over a few things before you write your papers so that you are doing it properly. So one thing we talked about when we were planning for the debate is the wrap. Remember, we want to introduce our articles, our author names, if provided, and the publication medium, if it lends credibility to your source. So I know that all of the sources you have titles. I know some of them have authors. Obviously, you can't give an author if one, isn't on the source. And then the publication would be maybe the website. And you only really want to put it in there if it lends credibility to your source. So, for instance, if the article was published on the Education World website or on the Time website or the CNN website or some kind of source that might be well known. It might be a good idea to include that. Also, if your author has credentials, we looked at a couple of sources where we had, for instance, a man who was not only a superintendent, but he was also a higher up in the organization that was trying to get year-round schooling to be implemented in different schools. So if you can talk about who the author is, that's helpful. Sometimes the author is just a reporter, but even that is helpful because if someone is paid to write, obviously he or she has to do research, has to go through an editing process, should be fact-checked. So whenever you can, it's a good idea to give a little bit of information on who the author is. Don't forget to always cite your source information. So we talked about the introduction with the wrap. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes you might want to say a little more. Cite, that actually kind of covers your citation as well. Just make sure if you put it word for word that it's in quotation marks. You can also paraphrase it, put it in your own words. Again, as long as you still say where the information came from. It's not my words. It's not maybe your author's words, it's your words, but it's still based on the ideas given in a source by an author. For the explanation part, this is something that some of you have been skipping, and this is very, very important. So I want you to think about this for your explanation. Think about the format they say and then I say. When you introduce research, you're telling us what they say. We still need your commentary. Don't use the pronoun I, but make your thought follow theirs. So I have an example here I wanted to talk about. Year-round schooling saves valuable instructional time and money. In her article, Is Year-Round Schooling the Answer?, Gloria Chaika, reporter for Education World, interviewed a teacher, Chris Pultz, in a district with a year-round schedule, and he commented, I can go full tilt the entire 9 weeks, realizing that I have a 3-week break coming up. We spend a day, maybe 2, reviewing when we come back to school after a 3-week break. Then it's off to the races. Teachers are able to use valuable instructional time to move on to the next standards instead of boring kids with weeks of reviews. Additionally, when students come back after breaks, they're refreshed and ready for new learning. Moreover, Chaika reports that multi-track schools saved California more than $4 billion when it switched 1,027 of the 1,517 single-track year-round schools to multi-track schedules, a savings that can make a significant difference to schools facing budget cuts. Schools can use savings to purchase resources and expand programs, so the time spent in the classroom is higher quality too. John Edmonds, a teacher in a traditional school, in a recent interview, lamented the lack of money available for contemporary, up-to-date resources and programs. However, year-round schooling can be a viable option for freeing up resources if a multi-track calendar is implemented. So, a few things I want to show you. First of all, you can see here, I named the article, I named the author, and then I even said the medium of publication. We found this article on the Education World website. So notice the article is in quotation marks and the name of the website is in italics. You'll notice I used ellipses, ... to leave out some information to shorten the quote. But I want to show you also, here's they say, right, this quote here, but then here's what I say. Here's where I give some of my comments on what that research really means. What are the implications that I can figure out, or the consequences, or the effects? Or even, I just kind of put it in my own language. You'll notice I used a transition as well. So then I wanted to move into some more research. Notice it was kind of on the same point that I made in my topic, but it's a little different information. So I used moreover, and then you can see this time, I don't want to say the article again. I've already mentioned it. So all I do now is just use JICA reports. Now I'm giving my source credit. I don't need to repeat what I've already done in the same paragraph earlier. Notice I still did quote some of it, but because I mentioned the author's name, and in the same paragraph, I've already mentioned the source and all of that, it's all I have to do. So notice I give that information, and then same thing. Here's some of what I say, and then I go on to say more. Okay, and then you'll see I inserted some more research. Now this time I didn't name the author, but it's still the same author and it's still the same title. So because of that, notice I just put JICA in parenthetical citations at the end of the sentence that has the quote. I could have said earlier in the sentence, JICA also interviewed John Edmonds, but instead I felt like that would kind of interrupt the flow. And so again, I've already explained the source, so just putting it in parenthetical citations there I felt was the best way to deal with it. And you'll notice again, I end with what I have to say. So you can bring this video up and you can pause it and look at this closely. I'll also post this document in Google Classroom for you to review. But use these techniques and you'll have a much better argumentative essay.